Before you become the merciless overlord who condemns hundreds of souls to a frozen death with a single nod of your head, you are nothing but a wretched insect crawling through the black sludge of a dying world. The cold does not just bite your exposed skin, it chews through your rotting flesh and settles deep into your aching bones. Every breath you draw feels like swallowing shattered glass. Your hands are cracked, bleeding, and covered in filthy stiff rags that offer absolutely no warmth against the howling wind. You are lying in the frozen mud of the lower camp, surrounded by the nauseating stench of gangrene and human despair. You look up through the relentless, biting snow and see the quartermaster standing high on the wooden viewing platform. He is wearing a magnificent, heavy, thick wolfskin coat. The rich, dark fur looks so incredibly warm and soft. You stare at that coat with a sickening, obsessive hunger. You hate this man with every single fiber of your rotting being, but you crave that animal skin coat more than you crave salvation. The phantom smell of the warm, cured leather drives you completely mad. You want to rip it from his back and bury your freezing face in its heat. That desperate, envious rage is the only thing keeping your weak heart beating. The nights down in the freezing mud pit are completely endless. You share a collapsed, frozen tent with a young, weak worker who is constantly coughing up thick, dark blood. He is holding a small, sealed tin of preserved animal fat. He is far too weak to open the metal lid. He looks at you with wide, pleading, wet eyes, asking silently for your help. This is the exact moment the very last shred of your humanity evaporates into the freezing night air. You do not help him. Instead, you press your freezing, dirty hands violently over his mouth and nose. He struggles wildly, but he is completely drained of energy. You watch the desperate life slowly leave his pale, terrified eyes. You feel the final, pathetic rattle in his hollow chest. You pull the tin of fat from his dead, stiff fingers. You pry the lid open with a rusted iron nail and shove the greasy, cold, foul mass directly into your starving mouth. The heavy calories hit your empty, shrinking stomach like a burst of divine energy. You feel physically sick, but you feel alive. You have intentionally murdered an innocent, helpless boy for a handful of cold grease, and you realize you would do it again in a heartbeat. The brutal overseers quickly notice your ruthless new survival instinct. They pull you from the mud pit and hand you a heavy, solid wooden club. You are a lower block warden now. Your very first reward is a dry, thick wool blanket. When you wrap that coarse, dry fabric around your violently shivering shoulders, the physical sensation is pure, intoxicating ecstasy. The warmth spreading through your numb, dead limbs feels better than any miracle. You are given a deep, rusted bowl of hot, watery stew with actual, real pieces of animal meat floating in it. The hot, salty grease coating your tongue and burning your throat makes you close your eyes in pure physical bliss. But this new comfort comes with a heavy, bloody price. You must keep the starving lower workers in line using pure terror. When a desperate, starving man tries to steal rotten potato scraps from the kitchen tent, you do not hesitate for a second. You swing the heavy wooden club and completely shatter his ribs. You listen to his brittle bones crack under the wood, and you feel a twisted, dark sense of pride. You are no longer the weak victim bleeding in the snow. You are the brutal enforcer inflicting the pain. Slowly, the brutal winter deepens and the camp hierarchy becomes a bloody ladder. You climb this ladder by stepping directly on the frozen, rigid corpses of your former friends. You learn to lie, cheat, and betray everyone around you. You sabotage the older wardens and steal their extra food rations. Your body grows thick and strong while everyone else withers away into walking skeletons. You are finally promoted to the elite inner circle. You are handed a pair of thick, heavy, waterproof leather boots. The sound of the solid, thick leather crunching heavily against the hard, packed, bloody snow makes you feel entirely invincible. The black frostbite on your toes slowly heals, leaving ugly, dark scars, but you no longer feel the biting, horrible wind on your feet. You are given permanent access to the heated upper quarters. The rich smell of burning black coal and roasting salted meat fills your nostrils, completely erasing the foul memory of the rotting mud pit. You command absolute fear now. When you walk past the lower workers, they immediately lower their eyes to the mud. You truly revel in their absolute terror. It feeds your growing, dark ego. The old quartermaster grows weak, sick, and careless. He can no longer maintain control over the starving, desperate masses. The camp is on the absolute brink of a massive, violent riot. You see your golden opportunity, and you strike without mercy. You orchestrate a sudden, bloody mutiny among the inner circle guards and physically drag the old quartermaster out into the frozen wasteland without any supplies. As he begs and screams for mercy, you look down at him with cold, dead, emotionless eyes. You aggressively strip the heavy wolfskin coat from his violently shaking body. You drape the massive, heavy fur coat over your own broad shoulders. The overwhelming, intense warmth and physical weight of the thick fur is everything you ever dreamed it would be. You have finally reached the absolute summit of this frozen hell. You are the supreme commander of the entire isolated outpost. You completely control the food, the heat, and the fragile lives of 300 desperate people. But the dark summit is a terrifying, lonely place. The winter storms suddenly intensify, blocking all known supply routes from the outside world. The camp is completely cut off and isolated. The true creeping horror of your new position begins to dawn on you. You sit alone in your heavily heated wooden cabin, wearing the magnificent wolfskin coat, but you are constantly shivering with intense, dark paranoia. You suddenly realize that every single starving person in the lower camp is looking at you the exact same way you looked at the old quartermaster. They are starving, they are freezing, and they desperately want your coat. They want your heat and your food. You cannot sleep for a single second. Every long shadow in your dark cabin looks exactly like an assassin holding a knife. You taste phantom poison in every bite of your roasted meat. The supreme power you sacrificed your entire human soul for is absolutely nothing but a cold, golden cage built on a cracking, frozen lake. The head guard brings you the final inventory report. The numbers written on the paper are an absolute death sentence. The catastrophic, blinding blizzard will last for at least another full month, and the main food reserves are almost entirely depleted. The camp consumes far more calories than you have left in the storage crates. The mathematical reality is brutal and completely unavoidable. You must drastically reduce the living population right now to stretch the remaining meager rations. There are two distinct groups left alive in the camp. On one side, you have your elite armed guards. There are 50 of them in total. They are heavily armed, incredibly violent, blindly loyal and terrifying. They keep you safe from the starving, angry mob. On the other side, you have the mechanical maintenance workers. There are 100 of them. They are incredibly weak, sick, and starving, but they are the only people alive who know exactly how to keep the ancient, massive coal generators running. Without those complex generators functioning, the entire camp will freeze to solid ice in a matter of hours. You stare blindly at the flickering yellow light of the oil lantern. The heavy moral weight of the entire frozen universe crashes down violently onto your tired shoulders. If you permanently cut the food rations of the weak maintenance workers, they will all slowly starve to death within 2 short weeks. The generators will inevitably fail, and the entire camp will quickly become a silent, icy tomb. Everyone, including you and your armed guards, will freeze to death in the pitch-black dark. But if you cut the rations of your elite guards to feed the essential workers, the violent guards will immediately realize they have been betrayed by you. They are heavily armed and extremely violent. They will aggressively storm your wooden cabin, slaughter you without a single moment of hesitation, and take all the remaining food for themselves before freezing to death later. You absolutely cannot save both groups. You desperately need the workers for the vital heat, but you desperately need the guards for your immediate physical survival. One distinct group must be entirely condemned to a slow, agonizing, painful death by starvation, just to buy you a few more weeks of miserable life. You are the terrifying monster who must decide who breathes the cold air and who perishes in the snow. Do you sacrifice the innocent workers and guarantee a freezing, terrifying death when the heating machines finally fail? Or do you betray your violent armed guards and face an immediate, bloody, violent uprising that will end your life tonight? The choice is entirely yours. Tell me in the comments. I am listening to you.